everyone, welcome back to Little Learns Mom. So sorry it's taking so long to get this video up. I have another video that I have been promising, my lesson planning video that I was going to get up really soon. It's just so much work and I'm trying to figure out how to comprise it all so the video is not like a half an hour long. So anyway, I'm going to give you a little intro about myself as well as why we decided to homeschool and our September recap in this video. So bear with me, I'm going to try not to have this super long. So let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. I have a background in early childhood education as well as I'm Montessori certified. I've always been around children as far as education wise, teaching them from a very young age up until their school age, and then after that they go to school or they continue to homeschool. One of the biggest reasons that we decided to have me retire after working for so long is we decided that we did not have any interest in putting our son into the traditional school system, be it be private, charter, whatever. It just did not work well for our family's dynamics, and it did not work well for what we wanted for him, for his future. Of course, that might change over the next couple years, but for right now, that's working well for us. My son has a late birthday, so that was another reason why we decided to homeschool. He was not at all your typical pre-K4, and because of his birthday, technically this would have been his kindergarten year, but if you follow me on Instagram, you know that he is all over the place. He's a first grader, he's a second grader, he's a third grader. It really kind of depends on what subject we're talking about. So putting him in kindergarten this year was definitely not an option. So if traditional school works well for your family, that's great. It just didn't work well for our family. So let's go ahead and jump into this September recap right quick. So let's start it off with what we read for the month of September. We started reading the book Wonder. We are still reading the book Wonder. We actually put the brakes on Wonder because Aretha Franklin passed away, and so we decided to read our Who is Aretha Franklin book. And again, this book says Who is because this book was published before she passed away. This was a very good autobiography. I thought it was very tastefully done. It was done in a way that children can understand. Of course, my son is 5 years old. I did omit certain things that I thought were inappropriate for him, but it was a very good book, and it basically appealed to his interest because, as you know, he loves music. We did read the Booker T. Washington, Who Was Booker T. Washington. We did not finish this book because there were some things in this book that were a little bit questionable, and so we got to the entire book except for the last, I want to say 3 or 4 chapters, and I'm going to have to do more research into the life of Booker T. Washington before I will go ahead and finish this book, because I want to be able to respond to a lot of the questions that my son's going to ask me with the correct information. So I highly recommend this book, but I also highly recommend that if you do decide to go with this book, that you do some research and you read the book first before you hand it to your child. Another thing is, any of these Who Was and Who Is books, I would recommend that you pre-read as a parent before just handing them to your child, because you want to make sure that all the information that you're giving your child is the correct information, because you don't want to have to undo things further down the road. Our required reading. He was required to read Zoey and Sassafras, Monsters and Mold, and surprisingly, I was trying to figure out why we didn't read this book. And I didn't realize we didn't read this book until I was unpacking, because we moved into a new house, and I said, wow, we didn't read that book. So we read this book, and if you follow me on Instagram, you know that we did a huge giveaway that it's over with, that for book 6. And we have read book 6 and we read this book. This book was great. If you want to know more about Zoey and Sassafras, I did a big blog on it, blog review on the books, and I will link that in the description box. His fun read for the month of September was The Bad Guys. And I believe this book actually came out in in August. So he read this book, and he has a reading buddy that lives in a totally different state that I'm really good friends with her mom. And him and her usually tag team with reading things and always passing books back and forth, that series that they love. The Bad Guys Club. Both of our kids love The Bad Guys Club. So when this book came out, I believe these children read this book in probably about 12 or 18 hours. It was more like stalk the mailman, get the book, and they instantly went to reading it. hilarious. I would say that if you're one of those parents who are very cautious about certain imaging and a certain different types of literary words that you don't want your child to be exposed to, I recommend that you flip through the entire book before you give them this book. I had no problems with it. I thought it was funny. I read alongside with the other books that are in this series with him, so I was okay with giving him this book to read on his own. In our curriculum video, and if you haven't seen that, I will link that in the description box. I said that we were doing the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. We have since stopped doing the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. We just felt like it was no longer a good fit for us, and we went back to handwriting without tears, or learning without tears, whichever one you prefer to call it. This is the first grade book. We have worked handwriting without tears since he was in pre-K, and so he naturally, when I gave him this book back, he felt more at home and more at ease with it. And so we've done several pages in this book. He's almost done with it, and I'm probably going to either order him grade 2, or I'm going to order the Building Writer series that they have for grade 1. We also do journaling. He journals twice a week, and I usually do like story cubes or some kind of activity that he can journal along with, or sometimes I let him just think of whatever he wants to think with and let him journal write in here and draw a picture. He likes that. We also do spectrum handwriting, and one of the reasons why he's in the K is because I knew that handwriting was one of his challenges, and so it just made sense for me to put him in the K book. And the K book is really comprehensive, to be honest with you, because to me, I just felt like, this would be a good fit for him for where he is right now. And I'm going to open up a couple pages. We actually just started working in this book. So as you can see that, this is not just write your ABCs. This is actually getting the kids to write stories, to inform, writing opinions, and using the writing process within this book. So this is a very good resource if you're looking for resources for your kids for handwriting. What I forgot to mention, with our required reading, we are doing the Book It, and Book It does have a program for homeschoolers, so you need to check them out if you haven't, if you didn't know that they did a program for homeschoolers. Also, Scholastic Books does a homeschool where you can get into the book club flyer. We're actually a part of that as well. So these are really great incentives. My son loves pizza. I don't know what kid doesn't love pizza, but so he's already gotten his certificate for October, so we just need to go and redeem it. So for reading, since we're on the topic of reading, let's go ahead and jump into what we did for reading. Now, in my curriculum video, I did say that we had either finished this book or we were about to finish this book, but we absolutely love this. This was a really good book for reading comprehension if your child is working on reading comprehension. We have no issues with reading comprehension at all, and in this book, I can say that partly thanks to that, but I'm always doing questions and answers with my son when he's reading anything, so I want to make sure that he's comprehending, and that's a good tip for you if you are if you have an early reader to help them work on their reading comprehension. Ask them questions about what they read, and if they don't know what they read or they're stumbling, just have them go back and reread it, and that way you can start working on those reading comprehension skills. So in this book, the kids will learn about drawing conclusions, facts and interfaces, main idea, making judgments, and noting details. This book worked on some grammar issues, and as you can tell, the kids get a story, and then they go back and they answer the questions. It also teaches them how to research. My son was reading the questions, going back and researching within the paragraph to find the correct answer, or he was just answering the question straight out. It's broken down into several different lessons that they can work through. I think this is working with meanings. The kids learning about different meanings of words and matching the correct word, and then there was more fill in the blank. So this was a very good comprehension book if you're looking for anything. So we went ahead and we have book 2. This is grade 2, and we haven't started this, and I'll have a review for you for this one in our November recap. because we're going to start working, well, no, in our December recap. We're going to work through it in November just to see how it's working, and I will let you know how he's doing in this. This one covers stacks, sequences, context, main idea, conclusions, and interference. And so I think that this will work really well for him. But since we're not doing this book, we are doing the Smart Alex Reading Comprehension. This is really just for fun. I mean, I don't see this being really, it's got some good things in it. I'm not going to down it, but this is really just for fun. I usually just do this for his board work, because he probably can read the story in maybe like 2 or 3 minutes and then answer the questions. This is like maybe 5 to 6 minutes worth of him just doing something. But you can pick these up at, I think I got this one either from Ollie's or I got it from, what's that store called? Five Below. I got it from Five Below. And they cost like maybe $1.50 or something like that. But this is a really good reading comprehension skill if you just want something quick. There's all kinds of different levels on the back. I think they go up to 5th grade. They go up to 5th grade for all different, for writing, math, reading, writing, math, and word problems are some of the subject areas that you can find these series in. So this is the Smart Alex series. For language arts, we are still working through the good and the beautiful. Please don't send me a whole bunch of messages about why am I working in the good and the beautiful, and I'm an African American family and it doesn't appeal to African Americans, it's not diverse enough, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm just gonna totally ignore you, because I did a huge blog post about why we do the good and the beautiful. We like the good and the beautiful, and I am my son's first teacher, so I know how to go through this book, pull out some of the art that I may not agree with, and find African American artists or African art and do the same thing. So we love this. Now what I did do is I did divide this up into 3 different units, because there's I think it's like 92 lessons in here. And so what I did was, when we got to lesson 32, I stopped him and we took a 2-week break, and during those 2 weeks we went back and we reviewed the phonics, we reviewed the language arts in the book. And so for the language arts, I picked up this Spectrum language arts book, and I found the subject areas that we had covered so far in the good and the beautiful, and I had him work these pages and we talked about it. We did all kinds of hands-on activities with it. We also had the Moffatt girls 1st grade language arts curriculum, and these are some of the areas that we touched on in the good and the beautiful. So I paired these during our review, and he's not working through all the pages. This was just simply making sure that we had a good understanding, we had a good foundation, and then we moved on to the next lesson in our good and the beautiful. Moving on to science. For science, we did the good and the beautiful safety unit, and we did biology from Real Science for Kids. The safety unit was a really fun unit. He really did like it. I did not do, I believe it's the lesson on Home Alone. I did not do the lesson on Home Alone because my son is never home alone. And so when we come back and we go back through this, I want to say probably in another year, then I will do the Home Alone lesson. And so he really did enjoy this. He enjoyed some of the activities in it. And of course, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I always build huge unit studies for my son. So this is basically somewhat like our spine. And then I tend to take off from there. So we actually read an African American book about sexual abuse alongside the book that the creator decided was a good match for the child abuse section in here, and I gave him just a good balance. So he had a book that reflected himself, and he also had another book that was a representation of, you know, different things and, you know, of another ethnicity. So we always want to make sure that we have an equal balance in our learning in our homeschool. We did Real Science for Kids biology, and I'm going to be honest with you, my son went through this in probably a month. And I think the reason why is because he loves science, and he basically kind of taught me the chapters in this book because we had already done it. I don't recommend that a family who has never done science to push this and do this for a month, because there are 10 chapters in this book, and quite naturally this should take probably about a month and a half or 2 months to get through this if you're not doing it every single day. But because he is very well, he works really well in science and he loves science, we went through this without, any problems. I will tell you that this particular book is not for a kindergartner per se. If you do use it with a kindergartner, you have to make sure that they are an established reader. My son was able to read this. This is one reason why we went and we did this. But do not, hand this to your child and say, here you go. You need to make sure you have an established reader and it has really good reading comprehension skills, and you're there. So, but this is a really good program, and I'll link to the company in my description box. So moving on to math. In my curriculum haul, I did say that we had decided to kick Math UC to the side. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to say we kicked it to the curb. I'm just going to say that we just put it to the side. We are working in Horizons Math. He's doing really, really well in this. I'm also pairing this with the Moffatt Girls first grade Math Made Fun. Because they have a lot of centers in that packet, and it kind of helps drill in the knowledge of what he's working on here. This is a spiral curriculum. This is not mastery, so they're being introduced to several different concepts at once. Go ahead and show you. This is the inside to the next lesson that he's working on, and he's just doing really well with this. So, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So let's go ahead and jump into geography. Now, I see a lot of people get these DK books. These DK books are great, but these DK books are not a sound foundation for geography, for science, for spelling, for math, or whatever other subject they come in. This, to me, in my honest opinion, is an intro. If you're not looking to do a very hardcore curriculum for geography or any of those other subjects I just mentioned, then, this is the way to go. He finished this book in like 3 weeks, and that's 3 weeks of us doing like maybe 5 or 6, pages a day. And that, I want to say not even a day, probably like twice a week. And so this is a really good book for intro to geography, but in no way is this a geography curriculum. And so I would be very cautious if you decide to use one of these as a geography curriculum without pairing it with some other resources. So what we did was, after we finished that DK book, we went to the Evan Moore geography book. This was a little bit more in depth for me, and I was able to build on this and talk more about this. What was being covered in this particular book, and I paired it with our geography visual book, so it's bringing this information home for him. And of course, like I said, we do a lot of unit studies, and so that also helps with our geography. And we're doing letters from afar as well. I mentioned this book in our haul. This book right here, you would think that we would be done with this book. I'm not reading this book as a read-through. This book is not meant to be a read-through book. This book is meant to be a supplement to get you some conversation starters. It's a fun book, a lot of jokes, very child friendly in here, but we're reading this as we come across different topics in geography. So I will link this in the description box, so if you're interested in getting this, you can. Surprisingly, my son loves social studies, and so we're using this for social studies, and we skipped the first 2 units in it because he pretty much knew what they were talking about. So we're just reading this like maybe twice a week and answering the questions at the end of the unit. I feel like social studies is just like everyday life, but I picked this up off of eBay. I actually have the workbook to it, but it just seemed like it was just a bunch of busy work, so we just don't do the workbook. But it's a lot of good information if you're looking for social studies related information. Have I done some unit studies on this? No, I haven't. I'll be honest with you, I haven't. I do have a social studies file folder from Scholastic thing that I could put together, but to me it was just a waste of time. So we're just reading through this and just talking through it. I mean, we do a lot of literature-based learning in this house, so this is basically just reading, talking about it, moving on. And new for this year, well, for this month, my son has decided that he wants a planner. I don't know why, but he just wants a planner. What I've been doing is putting his board work stuff in this planner and his spelling words in here. he likes it, and so I feel like it's a good, you know, encouragement for him for school. And so we've been just reading, you know, writing the different things down here in his spelling words. So I will link this in the description box for you. So if you're interested in getting your child one, you can go ahead and grab that off of Amazon. We also have a spelling box like everybody else. Spelling box are nothing new to us because we were a Montessori family. My son has always had some kind of phonics box, so this is nothing new. And if you would like to me to do a video on what's inside of this box, I would be more than happy to. But you can find a lot of information on Pinterest as well as some of the other channels here on YouTube that probably have the same things I have in my spelling box. So that's really it. I mean, for our month of September, we were a part of a Melanin Kids Book Club cooking, I want to say, series that's still going on. She's still doing it for October as well. We were in homeschool co-op, but we decided to stop doing that. But that's really it for us for the month of September. I look forward to reading your comments as well as visiting us on our Instagram page. What works for one family may not work for another. If that's you, please just pass this video on by. And again, until the next time, bye.